Hi, everybody, and welcome to this stream of the Northumbria Masters Round 2. And there's a variety of events happening today. So there's a Grandmaster Norm event, an International Master Norm event, and an Open. And so our initial plan is that we pop in on all three. We are just going to be covering the first 2 hours of this round, and the reason for that is I have a plane to catch. I'm currently streaming for the first time from Berlin.
So guten Tag then to all our German viewers.
Guten Tag, everybody. And you're just streaming from Chatham.
Just from Chatham, so hello.
So Berlin and Chatham stream. Okay, anyway, enough chat about what we're up to. I will share Matthew's screen. There we go. And it starts.
We are starting, I think, in the GM event, and this is we're starting with Matty Turner, or Peter Robertson rather, against Matty Turner. So let's have a look. We'll have a quick look at the openings. We'll see who the players are, and then afterwards we'll go on. This is an Italian game from Peter Robertson. Matty Turner's thinking a little bit. Maybe Peter hasn't played this much before. But obviously a very common opening, Bishop C5 being played, which is probably the most common move at the moment. Let's have a look at the next player. Says Conor Murphy against Callum Kilpatrick. Conor Murphy, a very strong Irish player. I played him. One of my last over the board games in the 4NCL. I played him there, and it was a very tough game. I was I won in the end, bizarrely enough, but I was under pressure for most of it. Very strong player. I've lost to.
He's just been studying at Cambridge, hasn't he? I think he's left there now.
Yeah. I lost to Conor in Blitz as well. He's a strong player. I definitely feel so. That's going to be an interesting one. FIDE Master playing Callum Kilpatrick, another very strong player, experienced player from England. We've got David Eggleston. David Eggleston. So he's a Cheddleton player playing against Alexander Chernayev, Russian Grandmaster, who's been in England quite a bit, really, quite well known on the English circuit. We've got a Philidor here with a rather unusual move, 7A6 in actual fact. 7C6 is much more normal. So we'll see what David does there. We've got Matthew Wadsworth against Tamas Fodor. So Matthew Wadsworth, a Guildford guy, so one of my teammates in the 4NCL. Actually, we've really seen him develop. I think from the time that I started playing at Guildford, he was probably he was a junior rated about 2000, 2100, and he's turned into a very strong IM. All the while studying at Cambridge and getting a degree and everything like that. So one of England's many talented juniors who might not pursue a career in professional chess, but just adding enormously to the general strength of the English game. So he's playing against Tamas Fodor, a Cheddleton player who well known on the English shores, plays a lot of games in England. Very solid player. Good player, 25-20 Grandmaster. So, going to be...
Tamas we saw playing, we were commentating last week on the Wood Green Invitational, and Tamas was one of the players, like a few players actually in this field.
Indeed.
Tamas was one of the players there.
Indeed. And Matthew's playing his favourite Reti. And Tamas has gone slightly sharp, going for the win of the C4 pawn. Now, there's been a lot of sharp games in this line, so going to be interesting to see how this goes. I think knight A3. We're following the sharpest theory at the moment, and then we've got the hero of the Wood Green Invitational, Ravi
Harriet. Well, not just the hero of the Wood Green Invitational. He has been playing absolutely fantastically recently in all sorts of things, but he got a GM norm at Wood Green, and he's of course looking for another GM norm here. He go from no GM norms to 2 GM norms in the space of a fortnight. That's what we would like to see.
Exactly. And he's playing Marcus Harvey, who scored his final IM norm, I believe, at the Wood Green Invitational as well.
Yes,
so
he's now a full IM.
Indeed. So actually, looking
what
at
score do they actually need? Do you know, Matthew? What score do they need to get the GM norm here?
Oh, it's normally something like 7, isn't it? Or 6.5 or 7. That's the normal score.
Yeah, at Wood Green it was 7 out of 9, and it is a very similar field, so I'm imagining it's going to be 7 as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough ask. I mean, really, you get a bit blasé about it because you've got so many grandmasters, but getting these norms is not easy.
Yeah. But we haven't had a grandmaster that recently in England, have we? When was the last English grandmaster?
That's a very good question.
I mean, it must be like 10 years or more, mustn't it? It's like really long. Yeah. I could be completely forgetting someone.
Is that really? We might be just forgetting someone, but I mean, it is true that the rate of grandmasters, has slowed down enormously. I mean, we had a whole generation really, that really got all their grandmaster titles pretty much at the same time. And then since then, I'm trying to think of the most recent grandmaster. I'm kind of thinking Johnny Hawkins actually, but that can't be right.
When did Johnny Hawkins get his?
I can't remember. 2011, 2012. We must be.
That really is 10 years.
Yeah, there's somebody in the chat who knows this. It's a very good question in actual fact. So let's have a quick look at Ravi against Marcus, because this is a Petrov from Marcus, and Ravi playing d4. And this is a great line actually. This was the brainchild of Yakov Muir, a very creative player who I believe recently died actually, but a former second of Korchnoi, grandmaster, incredibly creative. Yeah, not quite a brilliant, not really a brilliant practical player, I think you'd say. Got carried away with his ideas sometimes, and but as a second and a generator of ideas, amazing in the pre-computer age. And this is a nice idea. The nice point being that that if you play d5, you play knight f6, and after d takes c6, you have e4, forking and winning the piece back. So it's a beautiful idea. And knight takes e5 played. Knight takes e5 takes b5, and well, this is a Petrov, and the Petrov is really solid. So interesting to see what Ravi's got. Both sides playing very, very fast here. They
did both play against each other in the final round of the Wood Green, and both had actually made their norms with a round to spare by then. Brilliant. So they took a quick draw. I don't remember whether it was this opening or a different one. I don't know if you remember, Matthew.
I didn't. No, I didn't see that one.
So they have played anyway. They have prepared for each other, I guess, for both tournaments. So for this and the previous tournament, and their last result was just a week ago, and that was a draw.
So yeah, I mean, this is a typical Petrov thing where lots of things get exchanged in the center, and what it looks like here. h6, rook e4, bishop h3. So black is actually really going for the old equalizer here, and basically taking a pawn less, but trying to wreck white's structure on the way. And of course, if I play g takes h3, then a takes g5, and well, it's just all pretty much isolated pawns really in white's position. So yeah, you're a pawn down, and there's some activity, with e6, but yeah, it's not going to happen. In actual fact, the players have agreed a draw. So
they have again. Gosh, well, now that's a little bit surprising, because I would think Ravi would still be wanting to.
Well, they both won their first games. Ravi beat Peter Robertson, and Marcus Morby beat Matthew Wadsworth, which is a good result. So yeah, maybe they.
Yeah, it's tough getting this a GM norm in this thing. So I would have thought they would go all out for the win still at this early stage. But they're both, obviously very strong players and respect each other greatly. So maybe they want to conserve a bit of energy early and and beat everybody else.
Morning round, you've got stuff to come, and yeah, I mean, I think it's more, from the black point of view. I think equalizing with black, in this way is pretty decent.
Oh yes, no, it's a good result for Marcus.
With white you could look at it, but I think morning round, plenty of rounds to go. These are the two informed players. Yeah, maybe just a tournament strategy here playing a role. Let's have a look at Matthew Wadsworth against Tamas Fodor. So we were up to here, and these lines now are quite sharp now. Bishop e6, knight g5, bishop g4. There's been a lot of theory on this. I mean, the key point, and I can't actually remember the exact theory anymore now. But one of the key ideas that white has always got is to line up. Oh, actually, wait a minute. I should probably once again try and remove the computer analysis because that's always annoying me. So I mean, we've always got this idea of coming with a knight on e5 and a knight on g5 targeting s7. And I mean, this is one big thing that black's got to be very careful about. Of course, if it's basically, you mustn't go into this without analysis. The other idea that white has got, when this knight gets to e5, we get a number of extra ideas. Bishop takes c6 is one idea. With the idea of b takes c6, queen takes c6. And we've also got the push of the a pawn all the way up to a5 and a6. I mean, personally, I find this, really, it looks really risky to me as black. I've never really wanted to do this, but it seems that the black's surviving. And by the way, I think we even commentated on a game of Matthew Wadsworth in the British Online Championship.
Some of his in the British Championship. So there was
the British Online Championship from last year, not this year, I think, from last year. And I think he had a game in this. So I guess that Tamas is sort of seen that one. But knight takes c4 played. So we're going to see what black does here. I mean, my knowledge is I think is bishop e2 and then bishop h5, bishop e2, knight e5, bishop h5. But I could be getting my move orders all confused. It's not a line I play as black, and haven't looked at it for a while. So, but that's quite exciting anyway. And we're going to see what comes up there. All right, let's have a look. We're moving up. David Eggleston against Alexander Chernayev. So we said a6 was played, sort of hinting at, pardon me, at b5. So a4 played, b6, bishop g5 and c6. And actually, we've got a weird move order. Normally black plays c6, b6, a6. And Alexander's played a6, b6, and c6. But we're back into a pretty typical Philidor here. And this was actually an opening that was part of a book called A Complete Opening Repertoire for Black by Gerard Welling and Steve Giddens. And they recommended basically this structure against both d4 openings and e4 openings. So against d4, it was an old Indian, and against e4, it's the Philidor. And I think you could say, you could definitely do worse than have this as a general opening repertory, because very solid and quite interesting positions as well. So I mean, the key thing for really is, what is the center going to become? I mean, white can play d5 and then try and create a little hole on d5 for the pieces. That ends up looking more like it ends up looking, a bit like a Sicilian, basically, this one, with the c pawn exchange for the d pawn. We've got always the possibility of going d takes c5, and you just try for, I suppose you'd say, sort of a little dull advantage in a symmetrical pawn structure position. Or you can just leave it, and do stuff like this. And then at some stage, black's going to try and play e takes d4. Not immediately. Let me maybe do something a little bit more convincing before I start doing this. H3, rook e8. Bishop h4. Let's just say some moves like that, and then black can look to play something like here and c5 and get the line of the bishop and the rook, on this e4 pawn. But I mean, what I don't always like about these lines for black is that there are quite a few tactical ideas. I mean, for example, there's always bishop f7 ideas, and whether they're dangerous or not, they're still causing you, you still have to think about them at times, you know. So I do find these positions just a little bit difficult for black. You need some sort of precision in what you do, you know. But I think once you get
Alex Chernayev, he plays a lot of chess in the London area, like I'd say like a similar amount to how much Keith Arkle or Mark Hebden play. You always see him. So if you turn up at a Golders Green quick play or you know, any of these London Rapid plays or any events, he's always there. He loves chess. It's another player that if you play a game against him, he'll be having postmortems with you for the rest of the day. He'll suddenly have thought of a new line and he'll come back and talk to you for like days afterwards. An absolute chess addict.
Indeed.
And he's written his own books as well, hasn't he?
Indeed, that's right. Yes, that's right. It's so we're going to see how that one comes up. Very nice opening. They were a little bit late. Ooh, we saw this one in the game.
This is a very familiar position. So this is from the two knights, isn't it? And with this line with Bishop G5. Should we do it from the beginning so everybody knows it?
From the beginning. So this is a famous opening. I'm sure many players will have played this or faced it at the club level. I mean, the last game that we commented on was in this opening was Freddie Gordon, Freddie the Mate, very young English player, huge talent, against Michael Adams as black. Mickey, obviously, chess legend, of course. And Freddie was under huge pressure throughout the game, but held a draw against Michael, which was an incredible achievement. And funnily enough, also Natasha and I have also commentated on a game by Alpha Zero. Stockfish against Alpha Zero in this line. So quite intrigued to see what happens, because to be honest, it's looking pretty good for black, I think, really, you know. And this Stockfish Alpha Zero game was amazing. And I mean, Mickey was better all the way through, you know, in the game as well. And he played a novelty.
I've played this from the black side, and it doesn't always feel that way. It's like because the knight's out there on the edge, and you're a pawn down. And so it's quite, it is all a sacrifice. And your plan is to get your two bishops really, really active for black, and then get your knight into play maybe by c5, knight c6. But still, it feels dangerous still.
Yeah, I mean, in principle, black's position, it does look pretty bad, really, with a knight on a5 and a an isolated pawn on c6. So it's just that, you know, this knight and this bishop, certainly you see that especially at, you know, in this place, they're just a bit too far forward, really. And on the way back, it's going to cost tempi, you know. But I think it does certainly, you know, from the opening phase, it requires quite a bit of accuracy from black, you know, to get a good position. But I think, you know, that in principle, that the theory is looking quite pleasant for black. I mean, knight d5 is the main move here. And I think the best move, and then both of them, Stockfish against Alpha Zero and Freddie against Mickey. They both played knight f3. h4 has been played as well, but I don't know.
And this is all also on a DVD by Erwin Lamy.
That's right. Yeah, he did a DVD on.
Very good. If you want to play this opening, that's a very interesting DVD to watch.
Indeed. So so we're going to see. That's going to be an interesting one. Intrigued to see how that one develops. And then we've got, this is quite topical. So Peter Robertson against Matthew Turner. So c3, knight f6, and then d4. Sort of an older line that's been resurrected. You know, I mean, this has been now played at the elite GM level now for in many games. I think Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen have fought out many games in this, to name just a few. So e5, d5, bishop b5, knight e4 takes. I mean, for a long time, this was thought to be absolutely nothing for white. But on the other hand, you know, with computer preparation, more and more openings are, you know, feeling like absolutely nothing. So people just go deeper and deeper and try and find, you know, unusual ideas in the position. And essentially, you know, nowadays at the elite level, you're trying more to find challenges for the opponent that he maybe hasn't come across before, rather than really claiming that you've got an edge. And so this is one of those things. Bishop e3, and now f6, which, to be honest, is an incredibly sensible move. Which I don't think this has been the main move. I think people have been playing bishop g4 mainly, but f6 is an incredibly sensible move. And yeah, e takes f6 played. So yeah, we're going to see what happens. I do remember I've looked at these lines quite a bit. I'm trying to remember exactly what I thought. It's all pre-lockdown really, and I can't really remember anymore what it is. I think, yeah, knight takes c3. Sorry, this was the one, and then you can take with the queen on f6, and that was basically pretty decent for black. But okay, you know, complicated position. I mean, White's dream really would be to get a knight onto e5, supported by a pawn on f4. So you know, after you take on c3, queen takes f6. Yeah, I mean, you might end up castling and then playing knight e1 to d3 maybe, and playing f4 and knight e5. If you can get that, then you can maybe claim an edge. So,
so Matthew Turner, who's playing the black pieces here, he's quite a tricky grandmaster. I've played alongside him in the 4NCL for many years. He also is a chess teacher, so he's brought many English juniors into the game, being a sort of full-time chess teacher as well as a player.
Indeed, let's have a little look then at the IM tournament. We'll start with that. Have a little look at who we've got there.
This is a very interesting one. James Morby against William Cleridge Hanson. So these are both young players, and I guess it's probably a North v South, isn't it? James Morby, Northern Junior, and William Cleridge Hanson. I know he comes from the same town that my parents came from originally. So. Yeah, it's very interesting to see them play, and they've both been playing extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking at the tournament, it's a total mix, actually, isn't it? We've got James Morby against William Cleridge Hanson. We've got Roddy Mackay, IM. You know, yes. That he was an established IM when I was a junior.
He must. How old's Roddy Mackay? He must be a senior player now.
I think so. Yes, no, absolutely. Against Sadler, who I'm not familiar with as a player, actually.
I'm not either. I looked it up before we start. So she's quite a young female player.
Is it Slovenia, the flag?
Slovenia, yes.
Okay.
Slovenia.
Okay. So then we've got, again, Peter Large, a blast from the past, established IM when I was a junior on the...
And he comes from my town now. He's
an excellent player, isn't he? That's right. Playing against another senior player, Andrew Muir, IM.
Andrew Muir, is he an actuary? I think he might be.
I think he's an actuary. That's right. So I played him. I remember in a George Goodwin quick play, maybe 35 years ago or something like that. It's I remember the game because I played a rather nice sacrifice and won. Then Ian Gourlay, I think another senior player. I hope I'm not
you're right. Yeah.
Slandering him against Yichin Han, so very young player from Holland, but we've seen him playing in all sorts of English events. And
yes, yeah. He was doing well in the online British this year, and I think he probably, if I remember right, I think he won the under-18s.
Indeed, yeah. And then Harry Grieve, who we've seen many times on this on our channel, against Willow again. So two very strong junior players. So Harry Grieve, maybe most famous for winning the first COVID 24-hour checkmate.
Yes, checkmate COVID event.
Checkmate COVID event, 24-hour marathon. He won it by, was it half a point from Daniel Gormley?
Ahead of Daniel Gormley, who is also playing at this event.
Indeed. So yeah, we've seen Harry play many good games. So let's have a look at this one. This is a Maroczy bind. I'll just move the screen just a tiny little bit down so that we can see everything. Yeah, this is so White playing actually a very precise move order. There's all sorts of subtleties to it, but white doing that very well. So obviously knows his stuff. Bishop b2, d6, castles, bishop d7, h3. So this is there are two ways of playing this position with white, really. There's the approach with f3, which is what I tend to do, which is covering the g4 square and reinforcing the e4 pawn. It looks like a samish. That's why I do it. I like the samish for white. What white is doing here, playing with h3, is much more aggressive. You're actually giving yourself a chance of playing f4 at some stage and f5.
Yeah.
Hey, Percy, guitar man, good to see you. We knew that if anyone was going to turn up at the channel at this time of the morning, it was going to be you. Good to see you. So a5, rook d1, a4, and c5, and I'm just trying to think, but I think this is a line that's been scoring very heavily for white, I think. Oh, wait a minute, I've got to remove computer vision on this. There we are. This has been scoring very heavily for white, I think. There's been some big, it surprised me, but I thought there were some big top level games in this. So, well, it'll be interesting to see what Black's got planned here, because yeah, I mean, the idea basically is quite unusual. I mean, you've got your Maroczy bind set up. Basically, you're just trying to give up that clamp on the center, but to create some weaknesses in the black pawn structure, you know, and it seems to work pretty well in general. So we're going to see how that one goes. Roddy Mackay against Zala Ur. Ooh, this has been well. This is obviously a family taxi service shortly, but here for now. Oh, okay, guitar man, no worries. Well. Oh. We have got a treat for you, guitar man, because we have got, obviously, they know that Natasha is commentating today, and in honor of Natasha, they have brought out the birds.
Ah, brilliant. Okay.
Yes. So 1f4, d5. I mean, I wonder whether Harry's played his 1a3.
We're going to need, for guitar man, we're going to need to pop in on Tom Villiers' game, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, but we'll do it when you're back. Tell us when you're back from taxi service, and we'll go straight there.
So d3, so slightly unusual move order. Knight f6, knight f3, g6, c3, bishop g7, queen c2. So this is not a standard take a Dutch Leningrad with an extra tempo birds. This is actually sort of playing some sort of weird classical Dutch. But not bad, to be honest, against a young player, because what's a young player going to make of this? I'm going to be completely confused. So I mean,
well, as long as she's if she's an E4 player, it makes sense to do this, right? If she's a D4 player, less so, because then she'll know what to do against the Dutch.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is. I mean, you know, in principle, there's you know, it's the birds is not so bad, but you can actually employ it in a clever way. And what Natasha says is absolutely on the nose. If your opponent's a D4 player with white, well, there's not much point in playing it, because they just get a Dutch, you know. But oh, okay. Should we have a? I'll have a. We'll
yes.
We'll move that. So this is quite interesting. Black's gone a6, b5, by the way, keeping the knight away from a3 and looking to play bishop b7. So pretty unusual. Let's have a look. Tom will be in the. Will be.
Who is Savas Jack? Do you know that? Savas Jack? Who is that, Percy?
Savas Jack.
Well, let's look at Tom Villiers anyway.
Where is Tom Villiers? Do we have Tom
He
Villiers?
would be in the open section.
Yeah, I'm looking in the open section.
He definitely should be there, unless he's taken a Vi this round.
He's playing. Oh, good lord! I'm not sure the computer. Let's switch off the computer analysis, because that's not looking very. And let's have a look. So there we are. Tom Villiers. Let's have a look how that went. So Black against a strong player, Marianne Petrov from Bulgaria. So thanks very much, Percy. Yeah, I've caught up. So Tom playing bishop f5. Now Tom was we knew him as a wild hacker, but on his live chess page, he said that he was trying to go for a more positional style. So this is
This is it. This is positional Tom.
Indeed, with playing the Caracan, yeah, this has become a bit more popular line again. It was thought to be not very much at all for white, but yeah, again, it's one of those things that essentially lots of lines get neutralized, and then you have to start looking deeper into the middle game to see, which lines are maybe objectively equal but promising, and that's what players are doing. And particularly the elite players are doing a lot of this. So knight e2, quite an interesting system from white. The idea is to hit this bishop on f5. And actually, I read this book by Nigel Short recently, Winning, and he was explaining about his short system against the Caracan, which is the advance, but then white goes bishop e2, knight f3, and it's explaining that in principle it's great for black to have developed the bishop outside the pawn chain. But it can also just be a target, and it does get in the way of the development of black's other pieces, particularly the knight on g8. So, and this is what white's trying to exploit like this. White's playing here f4, and hitting the knight, and now coming with f5. And if you went something like knight f5, then white will just go g4 and then f5, and this is pretty dangerous.
I like this for white. I'm not sure Tom would like this kind of position for black.
No, now I'm just wondering what would I do in this position? I would be. The problem is that I would actually h5 is the first thing that comes to mind, just to play h4 and to try and fight for these light squares. But you might get hit by an old knight ce4, hitting threatening knight d6 check. And then if this knight moves away, then you go f5. So pretty tricky. Tom went knight ed5 and f5. And then e takes f5, knight f5, takes. And this is looking pretty tough for Tom, I have to say. We've got some lovely pressure from white, against the light squares here. And,
this is looking horrible, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I mean,
but Tom, yeah, he'll find something. So now, how will he do it though? How will he get his counterplay?
I don't know, to be honest, because well, it's going to be. We're going to have to hope that some tactics work out properly. Basically, I mean, castling kingside feels very worrying. I mean, the queen comes to g4. We've got all this stuff coming in. I don't think we want to do that. I'd be more looking at casting queenside, to be honest. Yeah. And but it's a bit tough, right? I mean, if I play something like queen f3, I'm hitting f7. The key thing is whether moves like g6 are working. Are you able to attack this rook and embarrass it so that but I mean, with white you could also just try a move like maybe queen f1, and after g6 you go rook f3, and you're going to come in with knight e4 and stuff. It's not pleasant.
I think that's what he should do though, and what he will do is this castle queenside plan.
Yes, no, I thought of that as well.
Winning, drawing, losing.
Winning, drawing, losing. Indeed, it's yeah. No, it's so okay. Tom got a tough game there, but I played g6 there, so yeah, that's possible as well. And we're going to see where white moves the rook back, but yeah. Already some pressure.
Hanson Nigel Short, as he liked to be called on this channel.
The Hanson, indeed. Yes, that's correct. That was his name label, wasn't it?
Winning by Hanson Nigel Short.
Let's have a look. Who else did we want to see from the? Who else did you want to see? Percy, you wanted to see?
Is Tom or Rob or Savas Jakes? Who are those? Do you know?
Rob. Who's Rob? Who's Rob? I'm trying to
think.
Could
be Rob Wilmoth, maybe.
Rob Wilmoth, maybe. Let's gamble on Rob Wilmoth, and then we'll see. So he's playing Klaus Mosnegutu from Romania. Do apologise for that. Rob
Wilmoth it is.
So playing a good old Catalan, Rob. At c5. So this is something that was played by Anish Giri as black against Grishak in the recent candidates. Okay, yeah, Stoica, we've got that against Tom Villiers. Stoica, okay, we'll have a look. So quite an interesting line, this. Black's, this pawn on b4 stops the knight from developing on c3. Black's trying for some sort of a dark square central strategy. The only problem is that when you play this move c takes b4, it's a lot harder for you to put pressure on the white center. So white tends to be able to keep his pawn on d4 forever and just gradually squeeze, get rid of the a3 pawn, and that's basically what happened against for Anish against Grishuk, and that kind of ruined his bid to reach the World Championship final, because he was it was Napo and Vasily Legrave and Geary basically fighting for the places, and Geary just fell away like that. But Rob playing a very early d5 there, which is quite unusual, quite interesting. I haven't seen that very often. Not illogical, I would say. E takes d5, also quite risky there. Again, maybe slightly unusual. Takes, castles, bishop g2. d6, queen d4, hitting the pawn on b4, a5, knight f3, rook e8, e3, bishop g4. In principle, I would say that it feels like Black's got a decent version of this. I mean, having played d5 so early, this knight's going to come into c5. The bishop's probably going to come round to g6. Aim at those light squares. Feels like Black's got a decent position, but plenty to play for. Interesting opening. And then finally, who did Guitarman want to see? Stoica.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
I don't know who Stoica is. Stoica versus Tevillier. You know their real names, Percy? Are those? No. What does it mean?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not quite sure who that is. So if you can give us a bit of a clue, if you like, you could we could do it through mime as well. Then we'll do that. Let's just have a quick look at the top board whilst we're looking. Tim Kett against Danny Gormally. E4, E5, knight F3, knight F6. Oh, Savas Stoica.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was some kind of secret code, but it's actually their names.
I don't actually see them on the top 20.
Are they maybe in the IM Nom tournament?
No, it's in the Open, about board 20.
Okay. Board 20.
I've got
S. Modi against James Merriman. That's young Merriman.
Yeah. I'm not sure, Guitar. Maybe
I wonder. Yeah. I think we only get the top boards though, because
I think we may be just a little bit too low there, Percy. But if they pop up, if people get put on a little bit higher, then we'll have a look. So actually, a slight surprise to me from Danny playing the Petrov.
Oh, Danny Gormally playing the Petrov.
It's just I'm just really surprised because it's quite a solid opening, really. Bishop b4, knight takes e5, castles, bishop b2, rook e8, and Danny taking on e4, c3, bishop f8. So essentially just a pretty Petrov-y kind of opening where the e-pawns have been exchanged for each other. And, basically it's just pretty even, really. So we'll see what Danny can do with that. I'm just a bit surprised because normally he's a Sicilian player. But maybe the Petrov is what he's been...
Surprise weapon. It's always good to have a surprise weapon, isn't it?
Maybe that's what he's been working on all during the lockdown, preparing the Petrov.
Let's see Brandon Clark.
Oh, Brandon Clark. On board 3. Right, what have we got here? We got. I thought it was an Anakin, actually, but it turned out to be a Grunfeld. So White played a quiet system against the Grunfeld, popularized by 10 boards below James Merriman. Okay, sorry, Percy. Yeah, we haven't got that.
Yeah. No, we only get. I guess only some of them are on the sort of automatic boards that can load them up.
Yeah, first 22, I think we get. So this was played by I think this was played by Petrosyan against Botvinnik. I think this is how that famous game went, and and Botvinnik, Petrov swapped off into an ending and won. But oh my goodness me, we are actually in the East Kent system. Can you believe it?
The East Kent system.
Yeah, so this is apparently I heard from Steve Giddings as well that just in the East Kent League, I think it's the East Kent, or is it the Mid Kent? But many years ago, this opening, which is actually a reverse Tarrasch, but with an extra tempo for white, was played, was discussed very, very frequently, and the basic conclusion was it wasn't anything at all for white and not particularly interesting.
But Brandon Clark is not going to know the East Kent logic, and probably David Guthrie not either, because it doesn't have an English flag there.
The Broadstairs attack, indeed. So it's yes, it wasn't. So basically, you're just a bit worse with white, because just like that with the Tarrasch. So bishop g4, c5. That's rather you do this in the Tarrasch. You play this c5 idea is known. Knight e4, bishop e3, and now Brandon's having a little think about what to do. Brandon, very dangerous attacking player. So we'll see what he comes up with. But in principle, Black has got the white side of a Tarrasch, which is a nice little edge, really.
New Zealand, David Guthrie. Which country was Brandon originally? Was he?
I thought he was.
Australia or New Zealand or something. Because David Guthrie appears to be New Zealand.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Because Brandon, am I remembering right? I think he was originally Australia, or am I just making that up?
I'm not sure at all. I don't know. It's
anyway. Okay, good.
Knight takes c3, b6 is quite a common way. When you're on the white side, this is quite a common way of playing with this system. The idea being that you just want to get some sort of structure like this where these pawns aren't very good. So we'll see how that goes. But in principle, Black doing fine, white doing fine as well, and we'll see how that goes. Let's have a look at the back of the GM scene just to see how that's going on. We left this Peter Robertson against Matty Turner. E takes f6, knight takes e3, queen f6, castles, bishop g4, bishop e2, rook e8, and now a4 from white, which is a decent idea. I mean, I think that what is white going to be doing here? White is going to be playing the knight away, maybe after a preliminary h3. You're going to be swapping off the bishops, and then you're going to try and play the move f4, and then knight e5, and you're going to.
Can I just tell you while I've got it here? Brandon has been Australian Blitz champion and New Zealand Open champion, and New South Wales Blitz champion, New South Wales Rapid champion, and is now a 25-year-old international master from England, currently based in Cambridge.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So
Australian Kangaroos. Very nice.
So it's so this is I think we're still in well-known theory here, and I mean Black's just got to decide. I mean the only thing that's not great about Black's position really is this bishop on b6, which is looking at a rather big pawn here. Whoops, that's not a move. And I mean normally you'd like to move this knight away, maybe try and move it round here. But obviously, if you do that now, then a5 happens. Yeah. So this is really, and if you go a move like a6 or a5, then the bishop's slightly less solid on this square. And if you go play a move like a5, for example, let's just play a few random moves. Knight d2, takes, knight e7. Or I don't know, queen d3. Say you played a move like c6, then with the inclusion of a4, a5, then this bishop is rather annoying, and the b7 pawn behind it. So that's basically what you're playing with for white. You've got the c5 square that you've possibly got, and you've also got the this bishop.
Black's bishop's not good. I mean, white's bishop doesn't look that amazing either to my eyes.
Well, no, but I mean that's the point, right? I mean, it's that neither side's pieces are absolutely amazing. But have a good time, guitar man. Don't drive too fast.
See you later.
So a4 played, and then queen d6. I mean, objectively, this position is even, right? I mean, it's not we're not claiming any big advantages,
Yeah.
but we're saying that it's complicated and that there's chances for both sides to get stuff right or to get stuff wrong. I mean, one idea for black could be to play, after in this sort of position, to play the knight to a5, and then you play. So you're avoiding the pawn, and then you play 6 and bishop c7. But then the question is,
can we make our board a bit bigger? I know we did that. We managed that before, didn't we?
Well, I made it.
I think it's yes. It's only a little bit bigger. We can make it.
Yeah, it's getting to be. I mean, I don't think I can get rid of all this stuff on the right, unfortunately. So I think this is basically pretty much how
because we're getting on this.
This is as good as it gets, I'm afraid. So let's have a look. Conor Murphy. What's happening with Conor Murphy? We left it at bishop d3. Oh, knight d5 played.
Ah, yes.
Oh, bishop d6, castles. But this is quite interesting now, because what both Alpha Zero did against Stockfish and Mickey Adams against Freddie the Mate Gordon was knight f4 now, and this is quite important. And I get the feeling that black's maybe not quite familiar with this line, because he spent 17 minutes. 3 and 9 here already. He's already quite a bit behind on time. The key point was to attack this bishop on d3 before you play rook e1, because now after castles, rook e1, if you played knight f4, we could probably just move the bishop back to f1. So so we're not going to be following those games anymore. I think after rook e1, maybe black's going to play rook e8 or something like that. But I'm not quite sure what it's going to do. Knight c3 maybe. And bishop g4 played from black after another 5-minute thing. So we're going to see how that goes.
Okay, so this is different. This is very different from how the others have played it. How can white take advantage? I suppose you don't need to do anything immediately, right? It's just that black isn't getting enough for the pawn.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to think. I've got in my head that you can play h3, bishop h5. Whoops. My mouse, and bishop f5 in this position, and then play bishop g4 at some stage if you need to get rid of the pin, and then you're going to go d4 and break open like that. That's what's in my head, but I could be getting it completely mixed up with everything else. I mean, black's idea, if you don't do anything, is to play f5, a very quick f5, and then e4. So you've definitely got to do something about it.
Yeah.
I mean. Actually, I think have I even seen this blade as well? Takes an f5.
Threatening an immediate e4.
Wait a minute. Isn't this known?
This is familiar. Yes, this is familiar to me as well.
We've maybe even looked at it. We've maybe even commentated on the game
together. Yeah. Or just in prep.
I think but this is probably reasonably well known. I can check the theory if we're particularly keen. I mean, this is I think we're still very much in the realms of opening theory here, and still plenty of stuff.
Yeah, like bishop f5 with a bishop because you got bishop e6 check, haven't you? If you need to, and then.
Yeah, that's right. I seem to remember that there was some sort of line where white's sacrificing his queen for lots of material. With a bishop e6 takes d5 and then takes on f3, and but I could maybe piece it together with a bit more time. But yeah, let's just say that we're still in opening theory, and it's still very sharp indeed.
Yes, it's funny, isn't it, with this one, because you kind of think. Like both players have to be quite confident to go down that line, that they know their theory.
Exactly. We've actually got another draw here with Matthew Wadsworth against Thomas Fodor. I'm actually wondering whether this was maybe known, because the players played it very fast.
Yeah.
So bishop takes c2 was played, knight e5, hitting f7. Bishop h5, rook e1. h6, knight e4. So I mean, white's a pawn down, but plenty of play. E6 takes on f6 was played, g takes f6, and now a big sacrifice, knight takes c6. So b takes c6, bishop takes c6 check.
Hi Ocelot, good morning.
Hey Ocelot, queen f5. hitting the bishop on
Ooh,
h5.
nice move. Okay, what about bishop g6? Then we do rook e6.
Rook e6 check. Quite spectacular, this. I'm sure this is a computer line. Bishop e7, queen takes f6.
Oh, gosh.
So multiple pins here. Bishop here, rook there. Rook g8 played. Rook e1. So black's got it's 3 pawns for the piece, but 2 bishops, obviously, and yeah, white's pawn structure is not fantastic there. So queen f4, rook c8 played, and then a draw by repetition.
At least white's got pawns, though.
Indeed, check, 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 and a draw by repetition there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this has been played before, and just a computer variation. So well played, both players. I think a recovery for first game. So and Tamas has he won his first game, and then a solid draw as black is pretty good. Yeah. So
yeah, because it is a pretty tough schedule, given that they have all been playing last week as well. Yeah, I do understand.
I mean, this game simply it's how it turns out. I mean, black gives white the challenge, and white hasn't got anything specific more than the known variations against it. So but I think they're playing 2 games in a day, right? So I think they're playing around this afternoon as well. So right. It's not from a tournament strategy point of view, not a bad choice. So queen d2 is a slightly unusual move. Normally that queen ends up going to e2, so quite an interesting one there. King h8 from Alexander. I'm maybe slightly surprised with that one. I'm not quite sure why that was necessary straight away. h3 played.
It's because he's going to do the knight g8 strategy, isn't he?
He might well be, but it's a little bit...
Of course he is. He must have been watching our channel, and he knows that's the way you have to play.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, okay. I mean, it's been played, and bishop b3. Yeah, so black's now got to think what he wants to do. I mean, queen c7 is a very normal move. Again, I'm slightly wondering why king h8 needed to be played straight away, but queen c7 is a normal move. When white goes bishop b3 like this, at some stage b5 also becomes an idea. Yeah, just I mean, what you've got to watch out for now with always with white in these lines is the move knight h4 to f5. That can be quite dangerous as well. So yeah, I mean, black could play knight g8 here. That's possible, but I mean, the plan of f5 is not really. I mean, there's light squared weaknesses everywhere with this bishop on b7. So I don't think that's what you're going for.
It's not really.
I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure what black's going for, but I'm sure that'll become clearer in future moves. Oops, sorry, I'm clicking wrongly all over the place. I do apologize. And then Peter Robertson we'd already seen. Let's have a look at the IM group.
Yes.
We hadn't actually got through the rest of the games.
So that's true. Yes.
Peter Large against Muir. This is yeah, and Peter was always in the good old days. He always had his own systems. He always reminded me quite a bit of Mark Hebden, actually. I'd say a slightly no disrespect, I don't mean like that, but a slightly lower level of Mark. Obviously Mark Grandmaster and got very close to 2600. Peter was always a good IM and that level, but he had his systems and he knew them very well, and they were tricky. Certainly when you played them as a junior, you always ended up with, after the first 3 moves, not knowing at all what he was doing. And that was well, in those days, pre-computer age, that was a very powerful way of playing. And still playing some slightly offbeat Sicilians there.
So Roddy Mackay was in fact born in 1952, which makes him very nearly 70 years old. So
my goodness me,
international master. So yeah.
How old is Peter actually?
Let me look at Peter Large. He must be a similar age.
Peter must be
maybe
a few years younger.
No, he'd be younger than me. Peter Large, 1956.
Okay, yeah. So he's 65.
Years younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andrew Muir is about the same.
Andrew Muir, let me look at him. Probably similar as well. So Andrew Muir, another international master, 1958, so a little bit younger.
So actually, the funny thing is that we, after all this offbeat Sicilian stuff, we've transposed into a Scheveningen, a Bishop E2 Scheveningen or Najdorf Sicilian. And I have no clue what the tempo situation is, whether white's up or black's up, because the knights have moved all over the place. We've had Bishop B5, Bishop D3, Bishop B2. We've had Knight C6, D4, C6. No idea what the tempo situation is. It looks about even, to be honest. It looks quite normal. But obviously, if black, I don't know whether Andrew plays his system normally with black, but it could well be that this has cunningly got him into something he's not used to. So Queen E1, castles, Rook D1, Queen C7.
Hi, Pezza. How are you doing?
Hey, Pezza, how are things? It's amazing, isn't it? You can say, hey, Pezza. You can just say, hey, Pezza. It all works. So F4, Knight takes D4. I think this is a well-known line, actually. B5, takes. F takes E5, Knight D7, Bishop F3, Bishop E7, and then we swap off the bishops and then get our knight into E4. And this is sort of in principle, black's fine in these lines, but white's got decent attacking chances as well. So I think when there's some lines where white goes Knight D6, I do seem to remember, and it looks a little bit like no, actually, it looks a little bit like a you often get this structure also in the 6 bishop C4 that sews in the fissure, Najdorf. But okay, this should be about even. White might well play Knight D6 in the end. You'll take on D6 and play E5 to block the bishop. And white will have a nice pass D pawn, but black's solid as well. So pardon me, we're going to see how it is. I mean, most obvious plan for black is assuming that his kingside's safe, and well, it's sort of vaguely safe. You'll be looking to hit the C2 pawn. Maybe something like rook there, and this feels like one of the most obvious ways of starting here, just to try and open things up on the and get some counterplay.
Hey, Pezza, we're on just until 12 o'clock. If you want to plan your work meetings around us, that would be fine.
So this is Ian Goulet against Yichin Han. So this is a semi-Slav, Queen C2, and quite a well-known line. This B6 system here was developed by Alexei Dreyev, very big expert in the semi-Slav, and it's incredibly solid. I mean, what can you say about it? At some stage, black will play C5. Will break in the center. Could be C5. Could be D takes C4 and C5. Might be E5, although that's a bit odd with a bishop on B7. And I mean, you're just going to get some sort of typical structure, and we'll just see who plays it the best.
Actually, Ian Goulet is not a senior. He's 1974, which I think is the same year as you. So getting towards the senior, but not quite there yet.
Oh, he's a young chick.
A spring chicken.
Indeed.
But not as young as Yichin Han.
No.
Who is, I think, Yichin Han. Oh, there's a lot of hands.
So I do apologize, Ian. That's since you're the same age as me, then I consider you to be extremely young. So actually, funnily enough, look at this position. Harry Grieve against Jonah Willow was actually the same opening as Peter Robertson, Matthew Turner.
Ooh.
But here Matthew Turner played F6, which is, I think, it's a very simple move, F6. It's just really trying to flatten out the position straight away. Jonah played the much more theoretical and sharper line Bishop G4, H3, Bishop H5, Queen C2, and I think this was the line recommended by Larry Kaufman in his book Kaufman's Repertoire for White and Black, which was quite an unusual book. So Larry Kaufman is amazing guy, actually. I mean, he's a chess grandmaster. I think he was a chess IM, and then he won the World Seniors and became a grandmaster. Also, a very strong shogi player. So I think he's one of America's best shogi players, and a computer guy as well. He's one of the guys behind the Komodo engine, which is about the number 3 in the ranking list at the moment. And so he wrote an opening book that was basically all based around computer recommendations. So what Komodo and Leela Zero thought was best, and quite an interesting book. But he came up with this line, and this one line he recommended. And the idea is really that you want to allow black to double up your pawns, but you'll get the open G file for the attack. But black played bishop G6, kept it tight at the back, queen B3, knight E7, and I'm pretty sure that this has happened a lot in elite games as well. Bishop D3, and now black plays the move knight D2, getting the bishop pair.
Yeah.
Knight takes D2, bishop D3, rook E1. I mean, to be honest, again, I think this is all being played at elite level. If you ask me, then this just looks absolutely fine for black, with no problem whatsoever. But obviously, the analysis keeps on going on here, and knight F5, knight F3, takes, king H8, and I think looking at Harry played the first 19 moves in something like well, I think he probably had more time than when he started, whereas black has taken
Harry definitely he knows all this stuff, right?
Yeah, so F takes E3 was the first move about which he thought for a longer time, and now rook F1. So presumably both players are out of book now, and just sort of playing. In principle, I don't think that the black's got any particular problems. But okay, it's a complex position, and we're just going to see what happens here. I mean, a natural plan for black is F6, and then at some stage, hopefully, to try and play C5, and natural white plan is to try and restrain that. I think some sort of B4 will, and maybe knight C5 will come in a little bit later on the queen side. So,
to me, it looks like those bishops could become very strong, the black bishops.
Indeed, but
so I might be tempted to take it off while I have the chance.
Yeah, possible. It's I actually had a very similar structure one time against Adiban at Vaikanze in 2012 or something like that, which I played appallingly, I have to say. I really played that structure badly as black, but in principle, I don't think it's too bad, yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I do prefer the bishops, but I think at the moment the knights are have quite a few decent possibilities. So black's going to have to absorb that play. All right, we've gone through the GM tournament. Let's go back to the.
Did you see William Cleridge Hanson? Did we see that recently? That was the IM.
I don't think we did. You're right.
See
the top game there. Oops, sorry.
Name's Morby.
Clicking wrongly. So we saw it after Queen A5, choppy, and White's gone for a very simple plan here. Takes, and knight D5. Should be a small edge, I suppose, for White. You've got the D5 square and a slightly weak D6 pawn to attack. Black's got a reason. I mean, there's not that much really behind that pawn that's sort of blocked by that pawn, really. Black doesn't really need to spend any particular time defending it. So black's got the two bishops, a few open files for the rooks. Should be fine, I think, and can also try and do something on the queen side. So, black should be completely fine, I think, as well here. But, white quite solid and entrenched. So you sort of say that odds on for a draw, really, this position. But we'll see how that goes. White now are definitely out of book here, and black, probably black out of book as well. Black thought quite a long time about Queen A5, but this is not such a bad position. But black thinking here for 16 minutes actually. So maybe thinking about whether to take the knight on d5
Like,
or whether to try something. I guess maybe yeah. I mean, if you go bishop back to here, then we might get knight e7. So yeah, you could consider queen d8 because after takes, this bishop is attacking the pawn on e4, so you're going to have some pressure there. So I think Black sort of trying to work out what he likes really. You could also play a move like bishop d8 and then try and develop the bishop later, but that's maybe a little bit awkward. So yeah, just need to spend a bit of time here to work that out. Bishop e5 played, which is quite unusual.
Oh gosh, can we go f4?
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, this is kind of one idea, but I'm guessing that maybe you're just looking for b takes c6 there, and then you're just going to claim that yeah, if you take on c6, then somehow I'll attack here. F4 would be a very aggressive way to play. The point is, of course, that you've loosened yourself up, and I think that's what Black's claiming. What you might do,
what I was thinking was if the bishop moves, we've got knight e7, and then we take on d6 potentially.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple of ideas here. I mean, you could conceivably. I'm just wondering about this one. The idea being the rook d5, I've got queen b6 check. And then maybe even queen takes b2 after, just to deal with that. But it might well be that after here you can play here. I was just trying to think, do I have some sort of cunning checks? Well, I mean, you could take on a2, I suppose.
Oh gosh!
If you go ed, and then I go bishop b3, which is kind of
that could be it. Yeah.
But well, we've got queen d2, queen c, queen a7 check. Sorry, that's the one. We keep the queen dependent on a7, so that would be decent. And well, if you play rook takes d6, then I go queen takes e5. So
yeah,
this might be the idea.
But you can't just e takes d6. It's less exciting, isn't it? For
yeah,
white?
That's right. Yeah, no, that's not. That doesn't seem to be working. No. So so yeah, maybe bishop e5 is a very accurate way of playing, actually. Yeah, that does look quite accurate. And then, Black can play rook e8, and then after move the bishop back, and Black should be fine. It's a very good move, I think, actually. Okay. Shall I have a little look at the open, see what...
Yes.
Happening with Danny. Oh, well, look at Tim Kett. May well have played quite a quiet opening, but he's gone queenside. Which is not silly because Black's played this move h6, so we've got a little bit of a hook there. So I mean, g4 to g5 is going to be a little bit annoying. It's quite interesting, actually. I mean, if I just go rook g1, I suppose what you've got to watch out for with white, kind of, is Black playing a move like queen f6, because then that stops you from going g4. So that's kind of the
maybe go g4. Oh, we can't just give it up.
Well,
can we just give it up?
Yeah, I mean, you could. Why not? Let's have a look. It's only Tim's pieces. So queen f6 is kind of interesting still, actually. Bishop g4, and then you go for the old rook g1.
This is hyper aggressive, bishop h6, but there is 4 pieces against that king.
Yeah, possible. I mean, I could throw in a good old bishop f4 here, take some bishop d1, queen d1, and then yeah, the question is how what's that compensation looking like? Which I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I'm completely confused. I mean, I'd imagine that the Black's doing quite well after a move like queen f6, but
so it's the exchange we've given up, isn't it?
It's the exchange we've given up. Not completely sure how the attack continues, really.
Yeah, we'd prefer if our king was a bit more out of the way, wouldn't we?
That might help. But I mean, this is the problem. I played so much Bullet and Blitz. In Bullet and Blitz, you don't blink an eye really. You just sort of do this. But I'm not sure in the long game whether this is strictly objectively good. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, what you could do, you could also play the Rook DG1. Come to think of it, takes here rather, because after I go Bishop F4 check takes. You're not actually attacking my queen, so I could actually keep on going with the old Bishop H6 or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's also possible, but then I get moves like Bishop E4 with a little block like that, and it's not clear whether I've really got enough. I mean, something like Rook here, King H8 is probably not a proper attack, I would have thought. So not sure about G4, and yeah, Rook G1 will probably go Queen F6, and that just stops G4. So
Danny Gormally, of course, is another player that was originally from Kent, although he's now a Northern player.
Indeed, the Kent Junior Mafia.
Yes.
Which I am a part. Yes,
I remember playing him in a county match, like when he was I hadn't heard of him at all, and I can't remember. He's much younger. He was not much younger. He was a bit younger than me, I can't now remember if it's a draw or he won, but anyway, I think he probably won, and I was just surprised. Who is this Daniel Gormally that I'd never heard of? And then he became really, really strong and a grandmaster. But how old was he? When was he a grandmaster? That would be ages ago again, wouldn't it?
It's quite a while back, I think.
Ages ago, yeah.
We can look it up, can't we? I'm sure. Let's get the answer to that key question. English chess grandmasters. English chess grandmasters.
Apeza thinks the attack looks dangerous-ish. So he's not completely convinced.
I've got English chess players. Let's having a look. Jonathan Hawkins. Who did Grandmaster 2014? Johnny Hawkins.
Okay. So that's
Stuart Haslinger, maybe. Stuart, when
7 years ago, 2014. Stuart Haslinger.
Because
he's living somewhere else now, though, isn't he? In Holland or somewhere?
I'm not sure anymore, to be honest.
No,
no, Grandmaster 2007, all that while back. So he went.
Okay, so come on, Ravi Harrier and Marcus Harvey and others.
Have a look. Nick Pert was a Grandmaster in 2001. That's obvious. Trying to think who was the last English Grandmaster.
I think it could be Johnny Hawkins.
Yeah, 2014 sounds convincing somehow.
Yes. So come on, Ravi. We want
a new one. We want a fresh one.
What's new?
So it's no. I'm clicking through all the players I can think of, and I mean players like. Yeah, no. The only ones I think probably Johnny Hawkins was our last one, 2014.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, time to make some more.
To make some more. So this is Marianne Petrov against Tom Villiers. So Tom is trying to keep it tight at the back. He's castle queenside and having some problems with that F7 pawn. Oh, actually, isn't that F7 pawn just totally lost? Actually, because we're just threatening rook takes F7 here, and there's also a little E6 check. So I mean, if you go Queen E6, we've got rook F7, rook F7, rook F7, and if Queen E6, then E6 check. So I fear very much that that pawn on F7 is completely lost. I can't think of a way to hold it.
No,
I don't think so.
I'm looking at moving the king, but it doesn't help because there's too many pieces attacking it.
Yeah, I think
bishop that doesn't help.
Yeah, I think this is just this is a very difficult position for black here. I think this is almost gone, I think. So hard luck, Tom. Oh, Keith, we haven't looked at Keith yet.
Keith, we need to look at, yes. Not
this is
is it? Oh.
playing against AP Smith.
Okay. Who
is this the AP Smith we know?
Yes, AP Smith. Yeah.
He's got an Irish flag. I hadn't realised.
I think nonetheless. I think it's our same one.
Okay. It's
I won't look at all the Smiths because there'll be too many in it. Oh no, he's called Andrew, so that'll be near the top of the list. All right, I will look up some Smiths.
So yeah, no, do apologise. It's just that there's an AP Smith that we've I've played many times in weekend tournaments and known for years, but I hadn't realised that he played under the Irish flag. If that's but it might be a different Andrew Smith. You never know.
Let's see how many APs. There's 353 Smiths, but.
So anyway, this is a sort of a slightly weird Benoni where you go knight f3, e6, and white doesn't go c4 but plays knight c3, which I think is unusual for Keith. I think Keith normally plays c4 here, but Keith's broadened out his repertoire quite a bit during the lockdown. Actually, playing all this blitz mostly for the.
Oh my God! No, it's, oh no, I don't know because there's an Andrew P.E. Smith for England, but his rating's way too low, 1510, and then 2144 for Ireland. So I think it is the one. It's the one we know.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, often playing for the English team in the Quarantine League. So by the way, do think of playing for the ECF team on for the Quarantine League. It's a great event. We're now in Bundesliga. We're now in League 2.
Yes,
so we qualified.
And I've been doing commentaries on quite a lot of them. It's
Indeed.
Every Thursday and Sunday night, and they alternate between either 5+0, 3+2, and 3+0, and it's an arena format, so you can kind of pop in and out if you want to.
Indeed, and I was very proud of myself. I'm just going to say that because it was a 3+2 event, and I berserked all my games and
very good. Yes.
That was very and we it was incredible because we were I think when I joined we were in 7th place or something, and then we were gradually creeping up, and then in the final 10 seconds we moved from 3rd to 2nd and qualified. So
and actually Division 2 is the highest we've ever been, and like with so it goes Division 1, Division 2. There's just one league, isn't it? Division 2, and then Division 3 has 3 leagues. So we're right at the top now. So the next one is Sunday night, 7 p.m. Make sure you are there. It's going to be very exciting. Strong. It'll be strong.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So and hopefully we get we might get Keith back for that. You never know. That would be lovely. But even if we don't, we've got a good bunch of strong players. So Giganto Bear was in there again, berserking a lot and scoring a lot of points towards the end. So and Stambad was
very good,
another hero. So no, it was very, very good. Wilsonia was there, and David Wilson, and all the normal suspects. So it was excellent. So Bishop C4, D6, castles. E6, Queen D3. So I mean, this isn't a huge amount for white, but it's a square, the D5 square, and the pawn on D6 to attack. So basically quite pleasant for white. And Keith's just going to go Rook D1 and then line up on the D pawn, and Black's got to try and think a little bit what he's going to do. Oops, sorry. So who else? Oh, Mike Basman.
Oh yes, let's see Mike Basman.
Let's have a look. What's Mike been doing? So
turn 74. He must be playing black if this game is equal.
Turned 75 recently. So A6. So this is the old traditional St. George. He wrote a book about in 1982 or 1981 even. And C5. So D takes C5. Maybe a little bit early, that one. You often go C3 there. Bishop C5, castles, Bishop B7, Queen E2, Queen C7. And this early capture on the C5, this gives Black the opportunity to basically delay the development of his knight on G8. and that's the guy that always gets hit by a pawn on e5. So Mike actually playing this very solidly, and now he goes knight f6. Now that White's unable to go e5, and actually this has turned into a pretty decent Sicilian for black. H3, it wouldn't be Mike. I mean, you could easily consider just castling and having a good position. Mike is obviously going for g5, which is actually, to be honest, is not a bad idea at all in this position, because you've got this hook of the pawn on h3 here. Whoops, sorry. The hook of the pawn on h3 to attack. So it's going to be quite dangerous.
And he likes doing this with his H and G
pawn.
Oh,
he always does it. So CB5.
So Mike was originally Armenian. I don't know if he was taught that was the Armenian way to put the pawns there. I suspect it wasn't, and I think he's
no, but I mean,
he makes up his own ideas about chess.
Yeah, I mean, Mike didn't always play like this. I mean, if you look at his games from the late 60s, early 70s, he was, I'd say, you know, slightly offbeat, but playing quite normal openings. It's only, you know, he only sort of switched, I think, mid 70s, late 70s to these sort of openings, you know, and there's a nice passage. A book came out recently. To celebrate his 75th birthday, and the first 2 or 3 chapters they're written by Gerard Welling, and they're his reminiscences of Basman at some tournaments in in Belgium, a couple of tournaments, and you know, it's a beautiful description of that, with you know, the amazement, horror, annoyance that he caused with all his openings and all his ideas, you know, and he was you know, he's a very strong player, Mike was, and he was I think, you know, winning those tournaments, but playing all his bizarre stuff, and a very nice description of that in those books. So knight d4, bishop h2 check, king h1, takes bishop e5. Okay. And yeah, White now having a little think. I mean, the basic point, I suppose, is that if bishop e5, we'll go queen e5, and then if you take on b5, I might be able to take on e4. Might.
Mm-hmm. Looks like you can.
Yeah, probably. I'm just a bit worried about. I'm worried about various. Yeah, about various things.
D7 tricks.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I go rook e1. I mean, you've got the old knight f2s here, so that is probably. It's just, I was wondering about. Oh, okay. No, we got knight h3 check probably. I'm guessing something like that is probably decent. Yeah, I mean, I was worrying basically about. I mean, you got
other rook to e1.
Yeah, other rook to e1 maybe. It feels a little bit worrying, really.
Because then you don't have to check in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting knight e4 and then.
No, you do check, because you can take. Oh no, you don't. You don't.
Not 100% sure about it. I mean, something like f5, we go knight e4, you know, and bishop e4, I go f3, and queen e4, I've got queen h5 check now. So I'm wondering a little bit about it, whether that's possible or not. I mean, maybe you don't need to take on e4. Maybe you just go something like g4, maybe. And if hg, you go h5, for example. You know, that's a completely possible thing to do, and just you know, claim that this king is not well placed, which I think is probably a pretty good claim, really. So you know, that's possible. So we'll see. But in principle, I would expect black to be doing decently here. I mean, maybe it would be nicer if you'd just gone castles quietly, and you know, and then you could actually just you know, get a pawn back or whatever. But yeah, should still be fine.
Let's have a look at Paul Dargan's game. Saw him play quite a lot in the British Championships.
Where is he?
There he is, board 21, playing against another of our regulars, Kevin Winter.
Oh, there we are. Ooh, so what? Paul Dargan, he is on our Twitch channel. He is B22C3
C3
Sicilian.
Sicilian, yes, indeed.
And,
that's consistent with E4, but this isn't a Sicilian. Oh, the guy can transpose it into a Sicilian.
Well, he could place 2C5.
Kevin could.
He could have done
transpose to a Sicilian now.
But
Paul Dargan does know all about the F4 Sicilian Grand Prix attack, because he taught me some of that stuff when I was a kid.
Yes. He was the water pistol man, wasn't he, Paul Dargan?
He was indeed.
That story that you told is really stuck in my mind. So it's like Wilsonia with toast. I can't help saying that each time. But what we've got here actually is some sort of offbeat Philidor, where White's actually it's more of a feels like more like a bit of a modern really, or a perk where White's managed to get an F4. So this is actually quite dangerous for Black. Now, Kevin normally knows his stuff, so I'm assuming that this is maybe theory. But look at Paul. Paul's also playing very fast. So castle queenside, bishop c5, queen d3, knight g4, and Kevin is absolutely going for it.
Oh, knight g4, trying to come into f2 and fork everything.
It wouldn't amaze me if this was theory, by the way, but I think it's definitely a new position for both players here, because bishop e1, bishop e3 check, knight c5, and bishop f4. Wow. So lots of stuff happening here. So what on earth is going to happen here? I mean, the obvious move, I'm just trying to think, there seems to be stuff loose everywhere. That's why you're vaguely getting tempted with all sorts of sacrifices, really. But maybe it's not sensible yet. E takes d5 is the absolute obvious move. I was just wondering whether I could make knight takes d5 work. But anyway, E takes d5. And now what is Black going to do here? Not necessarily an easy choice. I would have thought queen e7 would be what you would want to do.
Yeah.
And now what have we got? Well, we've got a few different things. I mean, even queen e7 is not certainly not silly. Queen c4 hitting the bishop on f4 feels interesting somehow, because it's a bit of a question about where is this guy going actually. What else could be possible here? D takes c6 could be interesting. I mean, it's freeing d5, so that might actually could actually be quite interesting as well. What else have we got? I mean, d6, doesn't really. I think you're probably going to be fine there. I think you kind of want the position to be open here, don't you? So I would have thought either d takes c6 or queen c4. That feels like the natural way to do it. And what have we got? What have we got after? Well, this bishop is attacked. This knight's attacked as well. So the natural move, if you're going to say what would I expect to do, maybe from the start would be this one. But it's a little bit nerve-wracking, this, because we've got moves like, we can throw in moves like bishop h4, for example, attacking the
deflecting that queen,
attacking that little queen. Queen e7 has been played, and then what are you going to do? Are you going to play f6? But then I might well do something like d takes c6, and then we're blocking you from we're blocking you from castling kingside, and then we're going to get a rook e1 in or something. Or, well, actually, why not even after bishop h4? Whoops. What am I talking about? After f6, we could play rook e1 first of all, which might be quite worrying. So I am actually a bit worried about queen c4. I'm trying to think, how on earth would you get out? Would you play this best, actually? Frankly, I don't know. I think this is quite worrying. I think Black's maybe overdone it a little bit here, I would have thought. Because I think White's going to be very, very quick with getting a rook onto the old e file, which I think is not going to be good news.
James Pratt is requesting you don't sing.
Okay. But what am I going to win from that, James? I mean, there's got to be, it's it can happen at any moment. So if you want to avoid this threat, then I mean, well.
Actually, I've got something to ask you. You didn't play. You've been looking forward to playing in the colour chess for a long time, and then you didn't play. There's the colour chess at the Mind Sports Olympiad.
Yeah, I think first of all, I was probably unaware of when it specifically was, and secondly, I mean, I've just been working non-stop. I mean,
I got the silver medal.
Oh, well played. Well played. Who won the gold?
It was a lot of fun, actually. It was really good fun. Sarah Vannon, who is a very strong chess player.
Yeah,
he's got gold. So he won all his games. I won them all except for my game against him. But there were other strong players. There was this Maciej, Polish player, like 2300 player, and Mary Hatman and all these people.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, that was very nice.
No, brilliant. No, I mean, I just, I don't think I was, I really, cottoned on to when it was. But as I said, I've just been, just work's been so busy that I haven't had any time for anything else.
It's a very nice game, the colour chess. For those of you who don't know it, you should check it out. And you kind of play. It's like chess, but with extra constraints, where you can put your pieces. You sort of play onto the colour, and then they play onto the same colour. Sounds. Yes, you got to try it. You got to try it out to know how good it is.
Okay, so let's have a look. What else have we got? Let's go back to the Grandmaster tournament and see what's going on there. So Peter Robertson, rookie 1 was played knight a5, knight e5. Okay, so black played knight a5 very early, which actually gives white the opportunity to play this move knight e5. But black's idea was to follow up very quickly with c5. And there's a couple of choices here. I mean, you could play. I mean, these positions I'm always looking to try and play f4, but that was maybe just a little bit on the risky side immediately. So Peter played d takes c5, and now bishop takes c5 has been played, and now we've got to have a. So actually, that's quite an interesting
knight e7.
Well, I mean, there's some tactics, right? Because there's queen c4, so I'm just wondering how that's looking. Takes, knight d7, and queen c4, and we're I mean, in an ideal world, you would have gone knight d7, rook takes e2 brilliantly, and rook f2, but there's of course. So queen c4. Well, I mean, actually, there's I mean, even queen c3 is possible, funnily enough. And then after knight f8, you go rook takes e2.
Oh, and you can't recapture. So you'd have to go rook c1.
Yeah, now I go queen d2 or something, and that's nothing at all.
Oh, fine. Yeah.
Queen d5, king f8. So I think probably my feeling is that there's multiple ways for black of dealing with that threat. So in that case, this should not be very much at all. It should be nothing at all for white. It looks probably like black's equalized, unless there's something clever that we can do that I haven't seen. I mean, knight d. I don't even know whether that works remotely. Probably not. Probably knight d7. We could go rook takes e3. So no, I think this is looking just about equal, basically. Maybe white will play bishop d4, just solidify like this and claim that you've got a knight on e5. But I mean, it doesn't look like anything at all. Really, just does look like a draw. This one.
Good morning, Mark. How are you doing?
Okay, so what's happened with well, indeed, I think we saw it here. We saw. Looks like maybe I did remember my theory. Bishop f5.
Okay, let's see this. I want to see this one.
And bishop f5. And after queen f6, then bishop e4. So I was vaguely wondering whether bishop g4 was the move, but bishop e4 played. And this is again quite reasonable. So the queen on f6 has block the f pawn now. So that's the idea. Now the bishop is defending this. So White's next idea, really, I suppose, would be to play a move like d4. Well, a couple of moves, maybe knight c3 or maybe d4, and then get the bishop to g5 and attack the queen. So the question is, where is this black queen going to go? That's a good question. I mean, I suppose that's not obvious. I mean, I suppose one idea could be to go rook e8 simply. I'm not sure whether to play the other one. I mean, I kind of feel like the idea of going rook e8 is I want to go queen d8 and then f5. You know, that's the idea. So I want to keep my rook here.
Yeah.
The idea would be if d4, I would take on here, probably. And then, you know, if queen d4, I can go bishop f3 here. Takes gf, f5, picking up the... well, I'm claiming I'm picking that one up. There's this cunning move, bishop d2, but okay, I'll go f takes d4, it should be fine. So rook e8, so d4, e takes d4 looks quite decent. And if bishop g5, I'll go bishop f3, you know, and that should be fine.
So this is looking pretty good for black then.
So rook e8 has been played actually, yeah. So
yeah, okay.
Knight c3 then would maybe be the most obvious move, and then we're going to see what is black going to do here, and we've got a couple of ideas. I mean, we could just go queen d8, and we just say fair enough, go ahead, make my day, because what I was actually wondering about here was to meet knight d5 with f5, and I'm not at all sure how white deals with that, to be honest.
Yeah, that looks...
It's rather tougher than it looks.
Okay, so you can't play knight d5 then?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think so. But then after queen d8...
What do you do?
I mean, we could go bishop f5 again, with the idea of meeting queen f6 with knight e4, maybe.
Clever.
Having your knight on c3. So maybe after knight c3, queen d8, we go bishop f5. Maybe that would be the idea. But it's all quite hairy.
It is hairy. Why didn't you take on c3 and then go e4?
Yeah, that's a possibility, which I was about to point out. Yeah, that is actually quite nasty. g4. Not to be recommended, really. Could take back with the b pawn, I suppose, on c3. That would be possible, but it's a bit. Well, maybe it's possible. But I mean, at some stage you just go g6, don't you? Really, and then you go e4, and then you just if takes, you'll take there, and just say, okay, that's my structure. But I've got quite a bit of play as well. Don't know, not sure. Interesting rook e8. I'm sure this is still opening, still theory. You know, I mean,
okay,
that's the. But I don't know.
I guess the players are out of their theory by now.
Yeah, I think the players are out of their theory. I mean, you could play a move like d3. And then if queen d8, then we could play g4. You know, that's possible. But you do start to wonder about moves like f5, for example. Bishop d5 takes, and then go e4. You know, it's not 100% clear, really. You know, all this stuff. But okay, maybe White's got a good way to deal with it, and yeah. Certainly, if you know, if you're seeing this position for the first time, it's a little bit scary. Bishop g6 maybe, but then we could maybe go knight c3 and be solid. Possible, very complicated, very interesting. So and probably quite a big decision for White here, I think, in this position. Then we've got David Eggleston against Chernayev. Queen e8 was played. Ooh. Maybe was black aiming to go bishop d8 c7? That is a known plan, although rather wonky. Knight h4 g6, knight f3, knight h5, bishop h6, knight g7, rook d1, bishop c8, knight g5, knight f6. I don't have a very good feeling about black's position, I have to say. I mean, isn't f4 getting to the rather strong stage?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this feels, this is starting to feel really, really very dangerous for black. So, yeah. Okay, Paul. Thanks very much. Yeah, this is getting really dangerous. So I don't really like very much what black's been doing there. So okay, Alexander's a good defender. So but I think he's going to need a little bit of defense there just to do that. So knight e7 after in the game Morby, Cleridge, Hanson after
yes, okay,
20 minute thing, king g7. I think this one's heading, to be honest, either to equality or maybe to a slight little edge for black. I think maybe the bishop. Are
you still not keen on f4 as a move? Oh, f4. We're going to.
I mean, I'll go this queen b6 takes b2. I think that's just the thing. And, so I don't think that black's really got too many problems in principle.
So you just take on c6 instead of f4.
Maybe but I think that's always going to be fine for black somehow.
Let's check in on Peter Wells.
Peter Wells.
Yes.
Right. So a London system. D6, knight c3, knight c6. So Peter spending quite a bit of time right from the start there. D5, e5. Bishop g5, knight b8, e4. In principle, that hasn't worked out too badly for white. It's like a bit of a slightly passive perk for black. So h4. That was actually just it might have been inspired by AlphaZero, but it was more because black was actually threatened to play knight takes d5 and bishop g5. So h4, knight bd7, f3, c6, queen d2, and now c takes d5, and then white's got to decide what to take back with. Would have thought e takes d5 would be the natural move. We've got some sort of Najdorf Sicilian-ish type of position, basically. Maybe this one's slightly. Just trying to think what's the position looks a little bit odd. I'm just trying to think. Well, probably the bishop on g5 is the slightly odd one, but g4 to g5 is going to be quite a dangerous plan. So yeah, pretty sharp position actually, quite interesting. So not your normal stuff that you get from a London system. From that point of view, white's a d4 player and he's been moved into an e4 line. And Peter's not really a Najdorf player, but he has a lot of experience with the Sicilian as black. So I'd expect this to suit Peter a bit more than his opponent, judging from the opening. So let's have a look. Who else have we got? We've got
meet a lot on the lowest board, I think.
Peter Finn, there we are. Peter Finn, checkmate a lot. Ooh, checkmate a lot, living up to his name here. A French opening and f4 to f5 is coming in. So black played this move c4 is incredibly early from black. Normally you try and keep the pressure on the d4 pawn, and checkmate a lot went for it straight away with f5. So queen b6, queen d2. Pawn on b2 is being offered, but probably feels somewhat poisoned. Though I'm not 100% sure that it's... you might be able to get away with it, but you're going to be wasting a lot of time there. So bishop e7 played, bishop e2, castles. Black decides not to look at the pawn and go queen a5, maybe looking for a b5 to b4 later. And queen e1 played, and now e takes f5 from black. So checkmate lost, sacrificed a pawn, and now we're going to have to see what the follow-up is. I'm not quite sure. Maybe knight h4 is going to be the follow-up. a possible idea, just to attack the f5 pawn. And if g6, well, to be honest, even this looks quite this looks quite interesting. It's quite dangerous. This, queen g3, rook f1 coming in.
This looks really good. Yeah,
it's certainly fun for white, anyway. I mean, that doesn't look silly at all. Any other ideas that we've got? Well, I mean, you could even look at moves like bishop d2 and just say, it's a very tenuous protection of the queen on d5. So, there could conceivably be some ideas there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you could just go and play a move like queen g3 first of all, and then think of sacking later, or play knight g5 moves. It's a nice attacking position for white in general, So interesting there for a checkmate a lot. Let's have a look again. Who else have we got? Chris Regan against Peter Sauer. Peter Sauer, a senior player. And
Chris Regan too.
Chris Regan too, indeed. Battle of the senior players here. Knight d4 played. Yeah, white can probably take back with the knight on d4, and it's going to be a slight edge for black. I think really these pawns are quite ugly, but not a disaster yet by any means. Maybe here, bishop h3. Maybe afterwards. Then we're going to play rook c8, rook e8, target these pawns. Quite dangerous pleasant for black, I think. Let's have a look. We're going to go back. So knight f3 played by David Eggleton. So he didn't go for it yet. Knight d7 played and queen e3, but yeah, still quite an unpleasant position for black in principle. Pressure against e5 is awkward. Yeah, these bishops are just rather annoying here, and yeah, white's got plenty of stuff that he could do. Could consider doubling up on the d file actually, and just looking eventually to open it up. So, and this b6 pawn's a bit sensitive as well. So, still quite an uncomfortable position for black.
How are okay, yeah, let's see these ones.
Yeah, just Peter Robertson. What did he do? He went bishop c5, queen takes e5, rook b1. So and here black can yeah, black wants to probably wants to do something about the threat of rook b5.
If black takes on c3, is Matt's plan to go rook e3 and swing your just take on d5 and yeah.
So I mean, a6 is the blitz move, the natural move that you would blitz out when you see a move like rook b1. Question is whether you could do more. Yeah, I got intrigued with the knight b3 simply because it's possible. You can go here, rook takes c5, and then queen f2 and queen f1. But
oh gosh,
it's not a serious move. I was trying to desperately find a way that it could be useful in any other line, but probably not at all. Yeah, I mean, rook b5 is the threat, but you could meet it with queen c3. I mean, you could play a move like king h8. You've got to watch out for knight f7 check ideas afterwards. So that's possible. I mean, a knight c4 idea is also conceivable, but rook b5, I think a6 is just the simple move, and then you just ask white what else he's going to do. Yeah, again.
That is. Wait a minute. What? Yeah, rook e5. Okay, let's move.
So we had knight c3. Queen d8 was played, just as we predicted. So yeah, this could be quite dangerous for white now. I think d3 was better than this, but this is knight d5 f5 is what we're expecting here. So
if white's having so much problems with the bishop, he could just cut his losses and just take on d5 with the bishop.
Okie dokie, and takes.
You've still got this pin though, haven't you? Maybe we have to do the computer chess thing of putting your knight back onto e2 and let them take and double your own pawns.
That's horrific.
We get mated in short order, we probably do.
Yeah, no, I think so. If you want to go that move, you've got to play knight e2 now.
Straight away, yeah. Okay, so what about that one then, knight e2?
Yeah, I'm a bit afraid of bishop f3, actually.
And then we still take with the pawn. Well, I suppose you have to go king g2 then.
Yeah, this is a bit X-rated, really.
Yeah. Okay, this is too dangerous.
Not. This is quite awkward, really. I mean, maybe we need to go g4, but there's a big danger that you can just go knight f4 in this position.
Yeah.
Takes and check, and then I don't know, king f1, f5 or something. Which is.
It looks dangerous. Dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to find a good idea against this, really. But does one exist? I don't know. I almost sort of doubt it, actually. I think this is really dangerous. I don't know, because after, a move like bishop f5, I mean, rook f5 is dangerous. Even c takes d5 is dangerous. So it's really, I think White's in a bit of trouble here unless he's got, he finds a really clever resource that will that will save him. And that obviously that could exist. It could be missing something, of course. But to my eyes, this knight takes d5, f5 looks really strong.
Can you go g4?
Here. Yeah, this is what we were looking at, knight f4.
King h2 maybe.
King h2. Okay, I'll go f5 then.
Bishop takes. Pawn takes something. Pawn takes rook, let's say. Yeah. Yeah, now we've got to worry about discover check, so we'd have to take with the knight.
Yeah, well, I think this is just winning.
Yeah. Okay, too dangerous.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm a bit worried for White here. I think this is a really strong resource, and I think probably I imagine White missed that one. Knight takes d5. That you don't, because I mean, if you could, even this is risky, right? But you're slowing down the attack, and maybe you get to do something like this, But I think this knight takes d5, f5 just looks really. It looks killing to me. So yeah, don't know. We'll see. We'll see whether I might be missing something as well, but it looks very dangerous.
What about James Morby against William Cleridge Hanson? How's that one?
So king g7, knight takes c6, bc6, queen c6, rook fc8, queen b5. Yeah, rook c2 would be a very obvious place to start here. And I don't think there's very much in this position at all. I think we're just going to get a draw here.
All righty. Okay, we're going to have to wind up soon. Can we take a just quick look at the GM positions to see how they all are, and then
yeah, let's do that. So Peter Robertson against Matthew Turner. Matthew Turner's played played Queen D6 actually. Oh, which is probably maybe a slightly cleaner move, hitting the knight on E5. So that's I'm saying odds on for a draw this one, but we'll see. This one, Conor Murphy against.
Yes, very exciting one.
Very exciting one. I think Black's doing really well actually, but we will see. And then David Eccleston against Chernayev. It looks, yeah, I mean, White's got a very pleasant advantage here, and Black's under pressure. In the IM tournament, yeah, still lots of fighting games. James Morby against Cleridge Hanson. William Cleridge Hanson, I think, is going to be a draw. Roddy Mackay against Zala. Oh, it's actually very sharp, but I like White very much in this position. Very weak Black king here. Peter Large against Andrew Muir. We've had this happen actually, which well, I suppose the key question is whether White can play Rook takes F6. I don't imagine so. So after Bishop F6 takes, Rook takes, should be equal in principle. You don't really have enough attacking pieces there with White. Ian Goulet against Hichin Han. It's our structure. Black's played C5, and this is going to be a long maneuvering game. Black will play G6, stop the knight coming G3 to F5, and actually Black will try and play C4. Should be quite pleasant for Black, I think. And Harry Grieve against Jonah Willow. Well, yeah, it's about even. This bishop's Black's got a slightly worse pawn structure, but this bishop's quite good, and the rook's very active. So yeah, I don't think Black's got any problems here. Maybe Black's even got some ideas for play with B5 to B4. So basically, pretty decent position for Black here.
Excellent. All righty, thank you, everybody. That is the Northumbria Masters. Just a very quick run through round 2. Thanks everyone very much for watching, and see you all soon.
See you soon.